And we're rolling.
Hey, you guys, welcome to Maniacs Wrestling Reviews. This is the Jersey Star right here, and this is my boy.
Psycho Ice. Alright, basically we're going to be recapping the week in wrestling. We just started this one. We supposed to did it after the Royal Rumble, but I got lazy and, stuff happens. So, whatever the case may be. So we're going to kick it off with last night's Monday Night Raw. We'll probably do these like every week. Maybe not be on a set schedule like a Monday, but it'll be done every week if I can force myself to watch Dixie Carter's wrestling promotion or whatever it is they do over there in Orlando.
All right. Because I watch it also.
Yeah. All right. So we're going to go ahead and start off with Monday Night Raw. Triple H kicks the show off. He's cutting a promo on Laurinaitis having to be reviewed by the board of directors. Then, as he's finishing up his promo, the dead man comes up on the Titantron. And they show the video of Triple H with how he wants to remember The Undertaker and how he doesn't want The Undertaker to be remembered. And to me, I feel the exact same way. I would rather see Undertaker go out. I'd rather see Undertaker walk out under his own power and say, that's it. I'm retired. 20-0 at WrestleMania. He's done everything. Boom. Instead of last year's WrestleMania where he won. There was no doubt about that. They just about killed each other in the ring. But Triple H walked out. Undertaker was wheeled out like a football player with a sprained ankle. So when he showed that promo, I did enjoy that, but I did like the Undertaker's like he's been sitting in some dark place somewhere in an unknown location with all these torn pictures of Triple H and himself, and him going that victory meant nothing. So to him, that 19-0 is an empty void to him. He might as well still be 18-0 against Shawn Michaels.
Well, personally, to me, I feel as though we don't really need another Taker Triple H match. And although we don't need it, there's not many other guys he can face right now. So it's not exactly the worst matchup, for WrestleMania once again. I did like the way these two worked together last year. I think they can work something, good together this year once again. The promo last night was one of Taker's. That's one of the best promos I've seen him do in a long time. So I wasn't looking forward to the match, but once again, I am now for some reason after last night, I gotta say.
I mean, everybody keeps going, oh, we don't want to see Triple H and Taker again. When honestly, their match at WrestleMania, I feel, was one of those matches that it was good in its own right, but everybody felt like they were looking for another Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, what's his name? And you can't look for that because it's not Undertaker versus Shawn Michaels, it's Undertaker versus Triple H. So to want to see a type of match happen that you can't get with those two types of performers, then there's no reason for you to expect to see Triple H he's gonna slap Undertaker. He's gonna, when he hit the tombstone, I remember watching it, and when he tombstone Undertaker, I just knew like the streak is going to be broken off the tombstone to Undertaker. Taker kicks out. I went to WrestleMania 23 and saw Batista bomb the Undertaker, and it was like, wow. The entire arena just like stopped, like referee count 1, 2, Taker kicks out. It just erupted. So to say most people don't want to see Triple H Taker 3, I kind of do, because I feel like now it's that closing chapter on Undertaker's career. Like 20-0, he's going to ride off into the sunset on his motorcycle, because he ain't going to ride out on a horse. And it's just going to be like, and I say maybe, if knowing the WWE, they're probably not going to wait. The very next year, he'll be in the Hall of Fame. He'll probably get inducted by Kane and Paul Bearer. Now, with that being said, the WrestleMania card is looking to shape up pretty nicely, but I'm a little concerned I see where people are concerned, or I want to segue over to Daniel Bryan and the Big Show's match,
Okay.
where I'm liking where they're going with his character, with this like, oh, it doesn't winning a belt doesn't mean anything to me. I'm only concerned about what happens to AJ and this kind of thing, and it's working because it's like you see he'll do anything to keep the belt, but at the same time he's contradicting himself by saying, "Oh, I'm not worried about winning or losing." Well, he
I,
didn't say the title; he said a match. So
I do definitely prefer his heel character. A lot of people weren't digging him as a face, and I can see why. Besides Michael Cole trying to bury him, every 5 minutes. Besides that, he's doing very well as a heel. The only thing is, it's obvious that we're going to get a Sheamus versus Daniel Bryan match. CM Punk is obviously booked up. We'll get into that later. So I think a Sheamus Bryan match. They were thrown off the card last year, WrestleMania. They had a dark match wound up. They didn't wind up being on the show. So I think this year, Sheamus is a pretty, he's come a long way in a short amount of time. So I think they can really put something on good together this year. I'm looking forward to it, definitely.
And that's why I was trying to figure out why everybody was looking at the SmackDown Elimination Chamber match and going, oh, they have a terrible match set up. The only element in that match that doesn't make any sense is the Great Khali.
Well, Great
And
Khali, one of those things again. They always need one guy to just throw in there.
well, and
He's a large guy. You're trapped in there with him. You want to make him sort of an illusion.
well, I mean, I understand that, but the only reason he's in is because Henry had received so many injuries as of late that he needs time off the heal. I mean, so there's no point in acting like this is 1999 and we didn't know Mark Henry was hurt. We just thought he got suspended. I mean, we know what goes on now. So he needs time off the heel. He messed his ankle up. He had a groin strain. So I mean, those guys need time to sit out and heal. So the suspension thing was like, okay, here's your time off. We're going to just write you off TV for a minute. You're suspended. Then you turn around, you put Khali in, who really has no reason for being in the match except for he just came back at the Royal Rumble. And they don't have. Honestly, SmackDown gets the short end of the stick, in my opinion, because they'll take guys who are subpar or they feel are mediocre, and they'll build a reputation so high on SmackDown that they actually become stars that the fans recognize. And instead of making your secondary brand a solid brand by having an even amount of stars, you make a guy a star, and the first thing you do is after WrestleMania, we send them to we send them to Raw. And the guys who are already been stars, or the guys who they feel they want to push, they'll go, well, we ain't gonna push you on Monday Night Raw because we can't have you just running over the guys we just built. So we're gonna send you to SmackDown during the draft, and we're gonna let you build your character up, and then you'll come back. And they've been doing this ever since they started the draft after WrestleMania. You see,
Well, that's basically WWE style. They may put somebody down or build them up for a long time, and they just play around with them until they find something that works. If they don't find something that works, eventually you don't see that guy anymore. They've been doing that as long as I can remember. But
I mean, we know that's how they operate their company ever since the publicizing of it. Where, well, we're gonna, since now you guys are really going to be our money makers in so many words, we have to say,
well, I'd like to bring up. You could take a case of a guy like Drew McIntyre that was once, he was once very high not too long ago, and now if you look at him, he can't get much lower than where he's at.
But things like that, the thing I don't like is certain guys in the WWE get punished for things that weren't in their power. And I think it's unfair, but at the same time, it's like, well, it's only two things you can do. You can sit there and take it, or you can go to somebody and say, I'm tired of it, do this, or release me. And a lot of guys are so afraid that they won't be able to get over anywhere else that they just sit back and take the abuse. But you got guys like MVP who, when he first came in, they had him going. And I just knew he was going to be World Heavyweight Champion sooner or later.
It's funny that you bring that up because I was just about to speak about him. He was another guy that I remember, and they had a long losing streak of about a year, and he stuck with it. I got to say that much until he did start winning again, where a lot of guys might have given up. So
And
I
I,
think
I didn't so much give up on MVP. I had always liked his arrogant that I'm better than you character. The problem was he had when I seen the guy come in, he was coming in. They put him like boom right into the U.S. title hunt. He didn't come in like some guys where they come in, they beat it like they're kind of doing Brodus Clay right now. I like the character, I like the guy, but he is not going to be accepted fully until he beats a legitimate opponent instead of just fighting the guys that you only see on superstars.
well, I mean, when you have them squashing every wrestler, you're not really showing what that guy can do. We know Brodus Clay is a good wrestler, you know what he's capable of, but they've got to start putting him in some, like you said, some real matches, giving them real contenders if you expect him to be some kind of superstar.
And that's a thing that I don't think the WWE does anymore. Like there used to be a time where you bring in a guy and he's like gunning straight at one of the top guys. Like there's been plenty of times they brought in guys and they just go straight at Undertaker. Khali did it, came in straight at Undertaker. And it's like if you bring like when they brought Goldberg in, straight at The Rock. So it's like you bring in these guys, Jericho, straight at The Rock.
You want to go for the top dog always when you enter, when you enter a company.
And it's like for me to come in and we're gonna bring you in but we're gonna just let you beat up guys like Evan Bourne and Kofi Kingston. It does nothing for me, and then it makes those guys look even worse. And it's like it should be an even balance where you got guys that's solid at where they're at and they help other guys excel, or you got guys that's just like where you're just most of the guys they have are just roster fillers, basically.
Personally, what I didn't like is not only did he bury guys that are trying to come up. My biggest problem was a guy like Alex Riley, which he squashed in 2 minutes, which not a couple of months ago he was beating the Miz at pay-per-views. So a lot of that doesn't make any sense.
Well, that's WWE's flash in the pan policy, just like let's see, like in the like Sheamus. We're gonna move ahead to Sheamus and Otunga. Okay. Otunga came in with the NXT. They brought all this hype around him, and honestly, the only reason he had all this hype around him was because Jennifer Hudson was his girlfriend or his fiance or whatever the case may be.
Right.
Most people in wrestling remember him as the guy that was with Jennifer Hudson. I remember him as the guy that was on VH1 on I Love New York, vying for that horrible looking woman.
Jerry Curl, right?
Like with his Jerry Curl, like high top fade. I don't know how that was working, but that's what I remember him from. And then when I seen him in wrestling, I'm like, hey, that's the guy from I Love New York. That ain't, he's with Jennifer Hudson now. So it's like, oh, okay. So that's the only reason he's still there. And I assure you, as soon as if him and Jennifer Hudson don't get married, or if they get married and break up, he'll instantly start gradually going further and further down till they just get rid of him in his entirety, because he can't wrestle to save his life. So, and then you think about another guy that they brought in from nothing. To me, Sheamus came from I call it WWECW, because by then the hardcore aspect, fan aspect was so taken out of it. Now it was just like ECW is the original FCW. We got a new guy, send him to ECW, see how the fans respond to him, and we might bring him over to the other shows to see what happens. Sheamus is one of those guys. He comes from ECW. They bring him up to the Raw roster. He's running over guys, injuring guys.
Sheamus has that rare it factor. There's something very different about him. The fans,
at first they didn't really know what to make of him, because it's like you got this guy. I remember when I first saw him, I'm like, this guy looks like a ghost with fiery red hair, and I'm like, what's going on? And I used to laugh at his accent because it was funny to hear him say certain words. But then once you start watching him as he matured through the WWE from when he started to now, it's like, okay, Sheamus is one of those guys he's a rare combination of he's big, he's fast, he's strong, he's solid, he can entertain, he's good on the mic. It's rare you get that combination, because recently all you're going to get with WWE is guys like Mason Ryan. He can't talk on the mic. He can hardly wrestle, and he's like a big robot.
I think when they picked up Sheamus and Wade Barrett, that was two of their best acquisitions they've had in quite some time. As we can see by the way they're doing now and the things they've done already.
Well, I mean, yeah, you got. I mean, Wade Barrett's an intercontinental champion. That's as high as his ranking has ever made it on the thing. And I think more or less his thing is the angles where they were putting him in stables where he's like the Nexus, which the WWE they didn't drop the ball, they lost it halfway to a touchdown. They lost the ball at midfield mysteriously. Excuse me. So it's apparent that he's good enough to become a top guy in the company, and I think in a few years he'll become a top face in the WWE once he can really get over with the fans. But you know, like a guy like Sheamus, when he came in, he wasn't over at all. Like they're like, okay, it's Sheamus, whatever. And you know, once he started progressing, and when he went to SmackDown and they switched him from a heel to a face, that's when he really was like, that's when the fans really got behind him. And he works better as a face than he does a heel. So hopefully, you know, the WWE keeps him at a face because he's somebody that can keep his character fresh while still being over with the fans.
I didn't think Sheamus was going to work too well as a face, but actually he does a lot better than I thought he would. So really, they can keep him like that for a long time. Last night, you know, squashes no Tonga. They got to put him over. He wins the Rumble. Got to make him big. So, got to see what happens with that. It should be interesting. At some point, I expect him and Bryan to meet up. You know, sometime within the next couple.
Well, I mean, I hope Daniel Bryan wins the Elimination Chamber because one, it'll add to his heat, arrogant heel like I did it, and you know the whole yes thing. So I don't know what that's about, but to me it's hilarious and it really pisses the fans off. And only thing he needs to change now is he needs some different music. Like he needs heel type music.
Fucking fourth music, fifth music.
Yeah. But you know, guys like that, they bring in and they push them, and they start to get over with the fans, and that's the thing that really. And things like that help with like their ratings and all that kind of other stuff that they're trying to do, but they keep going about it the wrong way.
All right, I'm gonna speak about the Chris Jericho and CM Punk because I really can't wait to get to that.
Okay, well, we'll talk about the confrontation where Jericho comes out. Now, to me, I kind of marked out just a little bit when he kept coming out and he was like, "That's right, I trolled you all without saying anything." And I'm like, wow, did he really say troll on TV? Like people were going to know what he's talking about?
It's the end of the world as we know it because he's putting an end to thievery and guys that have taken from him, and now he makes fun of him. But you know what's funny? It's funny because the best in the world didn't come from Jericho, nor did it come from CM Punk. It came from Daniel Bryan. It came from Bryan Danielson. That's right.
That's one.
Which,
two.
With a side note, I wouldn't mind a three-way for WrestleMania, but
that would be. I think that may be too much wrestling for the WWE universe, and you know. Then again, WWE has their moments where they shock us because I thought we weren't ever going to get Daniel Bryan versus CM Punk, but we ended up getting it last week. Even though Jericho interfered, it still worked. Because you can see these guys work well together. Now, with that whole CM Punk Jericho angle,
epic confrontation.
I want to go back to, okay, Jericho called everybody wannabes and stealing his things. He stole the best in the world thing from Bryan Danielson. If you ever looked at his character, it's always been reminiscent of Shawn Michaels.
Right.
So it's not like he's some originator of his own type of character. He's not like Undertaker. Like there was never anybody walking around before him 6'10" and a half, all black on, tattoos all the way up to the shoulder, and walking around rolling his eyes into the back of his head. You know, so Undertaker is an original character. Shawn Michaels, original character, Macho Man, and the list goes on. Jericho, the only problem is, like, once you get into the business at this point, you're going to look at the guys who came before you, and you're going to take bits and pieces from each one.
Right.
So, that being said, I mean, Corey, I wouldn't say, the wannabe thing was just a part of the promo that kind of added to it. The fans are so, I don't know, the fans are so offbeat nowadays that they cheer some of the craziest stuff now, and it's like you weren't supposed to cheer
that. I'm a little disappointed. Maybe I won't be in the coming weeks. I'm kind of expecting Stephanie to be some, in some way included in this from things they alluded to, and even speaking of her last night. If it winds up being that all he was talking about was the championship, I'll be just as happy. But I think it would be a big shot to everybody if she's somehow included. I know she's been training recently, so I'd like to see it.
Well, with that being, what I think is, I think Jericho, this may be like one of those runs where he'll be back for WrestleMania, and then maybe a week or two after, and then he'll just go back to doing whatever it was he was doing beforehand.
Right, as
So I'm seeing Jericho winning the Elimination Chamber to set up a rematch at WrestleMania, which then will say, okay, I see somebody like either. I think Daniel Bryan is going to come out of the Elimination Chamber the winner, because the only way I see it is, let's see, who's all in that match. You got Cody Rhodes, Khali, Show, Orton, Bryan, Wade. Wade Barrett and all these guys are in there.
Right, all these guys are in there.
You got all these guys in there. All these guys in there, and it's like I'm looking at it, and the way I see it going, as far as people taking each other out, Cody Rhodes is probably going to be the first guy in. He'll probably end up being in there with Orton.
Oh.
So we already know where that's going to lead to. Now, to me, I wouldn't mind seeing a couple shockers like, Khali and Big Show take out two of the guys, like just knockout punch, vice grip. It's over, and they'll go, Wade, and I kind of see Big Show taking out like at least two of the guys in the chamber. I'm looking at maybe Khali puts out Orton for the RKO, and then Big Show might take out Wade Barrett and Cody Rhodes. Or Big Show takes out Cody Rhodes, and then Wade Barrett takes out Big Show. It can go any kind of way. Just some predictions I had. But
if you follow the news sites, which, some of us do, some of us don't. I know we do anyway. Speaking a little too much sometimes, but speaking of it, Chris Jericho is rumored to be leaving, soon for the summer anyway, which was only last week that it was spoke about. So I could definitely see, him just doing WrestleMania, getting the money for them, putting on a great show, great match with CM Punk, then taking some time off once again with his band before, coming back again at some point.
Right. And I kind of see that too. So I can see that happening where he wins the chamber, but then loses at WrestleMania, which would be fine. And then that, or they throw a curve and have the show off win the chamber. But I think Dolph Ziggler showing off is going to cost him the match at the Elimination Chamber.
No, personally, my favorite wrestler, the heel, #heel, show off, man.
I like Ziggler. He's like he's like a new hybrid version of Shawn Michaels in the 90s and Ric Flair in his prime. So it's like one of those mashed up, like, I can do it, and I'm going to do it because that's how good I am, while also being able to back up everything he said he's, without also being able to back up what he's going to do. So I can see Ziggler walking out with the championship, but, you never know. You can see Kofi Kingston could walk out with the WWE title, and we all be like this.
I think I'd rather see Dolph Ziggler win it at a point where I know he can hang on to it.
Yeah.
By the way, guys, new shirt, www.com today. Just telling you.
Wow. Can't fit it. That new shirt is for children, so it ain't like you can put it on. Unless
I'm waiting for the adults, sir.
Yeah. But, so I mean, the pay-per-views are shaping up. The road to WrestleMania is shaping up to look pretty good. Then, of course, their back and forth thing with The Rock and with John Cena, which is going to happen until WrestleMania. They have announced the ambulance match for Cena and Kane at
which I
Elimination
think,
Chamber, which means Kane's gonna lose because now they want to turn Cena's focus to The Rock. But I think they should always have Kane in the shadows, lurking and getting ready to pick his spot.
well, I somehow see, and they need to do this to capitalize on them. I see Zack Ryder getting involved somehow. This is the best time and way they can bring Ryder back as a serious character. He can stay himself but be more serious. Bring him back, have him feud with Kane, really get him over with people that don't believe in him. Have him get some legitimate wins in the ring, against a guy like Kane.
Right. And I mean, it can happen. And or you can get a
because at some point Kane's going to need a guy to feud with. Cena is moving on to other things, as we said.
or we can see. Here's what I'm thinking. This is how they turn the focus to the guys. Ambulance match happens. Kane's gonna win it. Ryder comes out of nowhere, helps Cena beat Kane. They throw him in the ambulance. Woo woo woo, whatever. Kane loses the match. The next night on Raw, he comes out. Ryder goes, just cuts a promo going. He's not going to take it anymore. Yada yada yada. He's not afraid of Kane. Boom, sets up a match for WrestleMania. Then this way, Cena can focus on Rock. Ryder have Kane's attention, and everybody's happy. And maybe they can throw Jack Swagger in the mix somewhere so they can get that. I mean, because he has the belt. He won the U.S. title 2 weeks ago, and now we haven't seen him on TV.
Which they should have, honestly, even if he was in a storyline, if he was going to get injured, I think they should have left it on Ryder. Let that ride out some more. He had some momentum.
Exactly. But, so, I mean, it was pointless. Nobody takes Jack Swagger serious as a singles competitor. Honestly, they don't.
Most people don't even remember that he won the world title.
And that's the sad thing. Like, he's a world heavyweight champion, and most people don't even remember that. So it's like, they'll find a way to take the belt off of him before WrestleMania. Maybe they'll give it to Kane just so Ryder can go over at WrestleMania and win the title. But what are we down to now?
We had that tag team match last night. Rhodes and Barrett, Orton and Khali. Not much to say in that match. I mean,
that was one of those obvious matches where it's like, yeah, Rhodes and Barrett are going to lose. So, I mean, the only thing is the little interactions between Khali and Orton where it kind of seemed like, you don't know if it was a part of the show or because Orton's had a track record of just, oh, well, I'm going to do what I want to do with these guys.
I like to call them the Triple H, burying guys.
Yeah, he gets upset and then guys stop getting their push. Ask Kofi Kingston. So, that match was really like, whatever. I think that was a time filler. The Divas match, time filler. Six-pack challenge was pretty decent.
That was a match.
That was an actual match. I did like what was going on in there. The Miz tried to kill R-Truth. I mean, I guess Miz feels there's enough guys in the chamber. Let me not catch R-Truth when he comes.
At this point, I think the Miz, he's dropped a little on the card. People don't see them, the way that they used to. I think he might be a little sour. Can't tell for sure if he tried to injure R-Truth.
Right, but when they showed the replay, I'm looking at it. When they first showed it, I'm like, man, it looked like he just missed it. And then when they showed it again in slow motion, you can see the Miz, like when R-Truth's coming down, he looks up and sees Truth. And by the time he sees him, Truth's in midair. And when Truth's over him, he kind of like pushes off and just smash. And they said, reports came in, he's okay. And he escaped something that could have been a serious injury. He could have had a concussion. The way his head bounced and whipped backwards, he could have had a concussion. He could have broke his neck. He could have cracked a vertebrae or anything.
Right. I mean, we joke around, but at the end of this day, it's a very physical sport. You can't do things that might injure somebody else. You have to watch out for the other opponents.
Right. So, I mean, Miz was catching it from Triple H and a couple of former WWE guys on Twitter, which I kind of think he deserves it because there's no way when you go out there and put on that show for those people, when you're doing those moves, you still have your well-being, life, and what makes you money is in that other person's hand. So when you're at a level
that the Miz is, there's a lot expected of you. You're not a jobber, you're not an FCW, you can't mess up, especially like that.
Right. it's like, you go out there and hurt somebody. Now, if you do it accidentally, like you're in the ring and, you know, it's a spot where he's supposed to get knocked off the rope, but he
Right.
falls off the rope and lands the wrong way, then it's one thing by accident, but it's another thing when you see the guy on TV blatantly just like, I'm not going to catch you. I'm going to let you fall and hurt yourself. And R-Truth couldn't even continue the match. It wasn't like a spot that they planned where R-Truth was going to land a certain way. You could see his momentum was to land on Miz and then, continue the match. Miz just moved out the way. It's like last time I saw something like that is when Undertaker went flying over the top rope at Shawn Michaels, but at least Shawn Michaels had the wherewithal. He's like, well, if he ain't gonna hit me, he can catch this cameraman. And even the cameraman knew, oh snap, let me do something, but from a guy who's been a WWE champion and at the level he's at and in the business that he's in, he should know better than doing that. So, in all things, we'll probably see him in a few weeks. He might end up jobbing out to, the Funkasaurus as a punishment. That's WWE likes to punish their superstars for things they do wrong. So I mean, I can kind of see it happening.
In that situation, I definitely agree. But the match itself
was a nice match. It was good to see that all these stars could all work together because
even Kofi got put over, which is not normal for him. As of late, he's starting to get more up there once again.
Well, I mean, it's easy to get put over when you're a singles competitor because your partner likes to spice up his life. So, I mean, Airborne to me is pretty much done. That tag team's over with.
I mean, actually, if you look as of today, they put a brand new shirt for Kofi by himself. So I'm pretty sure we're not going to be seeing any more.
Yeah, it's time. Now it's time for Kofi to get his push. So I see Kofi kind of hanging around that main event picture. What I actually like to see is Kofi Kingston win the Money in the Bank match. So hopefully,
maybe a tweak to his character would help him out.
If he tweaked his character just a little bit, and maybe had a more grounded style, or if he did go high flying, he does more.
Go back to the way he was when he was feuding with Orton. That was more what I would like to see from Kofi Kingston.
And
he was taking it to another level.
Yeah, so I mean, you got that, and then
he
needs a more aggressive side. That's what it is. He's not as aggressive as he was when he was going up against Orton.
The only problem I had with the match last night, may just be me once again, is that once again you got the guy at the Rumble who lost the title match, who you still want to make big. You make him lose and get pinned once again on Raw. There's 6 guys in the match. It really didn't have to be him. But once again, Ziggler taking that loss, it's Dolph Ziggler, so it really doesn't hurt him whatsoever.
Ziggler's one of those guys that's going to do what's best for business.
As you can see when he got nailed by Karma in the Rumble.
Yeah, but then he turned around and he threw her out. You're upset because, here's the thing. You're upset because you're looking at it from a fan standpoint that if I was a booker for the WWE, this guy would be getting over, or at least he wouldn't be made to look as bad as he is.
Maybe a little biased.
Exactly. That's more or less. You're to Dolph Ziggler to what Michael Cole is to The Miz. That's your problem.
All except the gay stuff.
Yeah, except for some of that weird stuff he was pulling off. Although, glad he said it, I didn't. I don't want any trouble. So, so all in all, it was a solid show. It was actually pretty decent. I think they got more viewers. If the numbers come in and they're higher than last week, they got more viewers based on the fact that they were going to get rid of Laurinaitis.
Yeah, we'll get into that in a minute. But, you got the end. You got Jericho holding the title in the ring. Punk looking pissed off. Just setting it up for next week. So I think whatever's good. At the very end of the show, I think it's over. It's kind of a strange thing to me.
I was where Kane would eat because I kept hearing this screaming, and I'm trying to figure out. And I'm thinking that like maybe some girls in the audience, or get to touch CM Punk, or and they cut to the back. Right, they cut to the back, and there's Eve screaming, and Kane's like looking just like I can't even explain it. Like Kane just looks like.
He was saying that he's afraid
Yeah, I did like that. Like for the first time, I'm afraid of myself, and it's like I think in this ambulance match, he's going to push Cena to the limit, but at the same time, he's going to. I personally would rather see Cena lose, so this way it keeps going on with the embrace the hate thing. Yeah, you lost your ambulance match. Now you lost to me, but of course they're not going to do that because they want him to go into WrestleMania because we all know he's going to lose at WrestleMania to The Rock. So anybody who thinks differently is an idiot or they're under 10 and they need to be in school right now. So
Personally, I thought it was a little creepy what he had going on with Eve, but that's Kane for you.
exactly, Kane is WWE's like sick, perverse monster that they pull out every now and then around this time of year.
I'll just end it with I didn't mind even the towel either. That didn't bother me too much.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't bother many of us. So, I mean, that's the review for this week.
But last thing I want to cover is the fact that somehow John Laurinaitis is still with us.
That's WWE's story, creative, and that's a whole nother. That's an entire show in itself, just talking about their creative. And I don't think it's enough time on a clock on the wall to talk about the things they're doing wrong. But then again, from what I understand, the COO's wife is over creative, and we all know she's never been too creative herself. So
hopefully, the only thing I can say about it is, they decided they want to keep him this morning, be a storyline. Maybe we won't get him on camera very much longer. Maybe Punk put him out of action, so we don't have to see him anymore.
I hope he gets hit. I hope they blow him up in a limousine like they did Vince that one time. But that's been the review for this week. Like I said, hit the subscribe button in the corner. As you can see from the screen recording, you have the Twitter, so follow it.
Follow us,
and
make more videos. At the Jersey Star,
at Shin Psycho Ice. So we'll get it together once it's all said and done. Thanks for watching.